Just over 50 years ago, Chinese Civil War thrust this tiny island into the international spotlight. Today, the guns that repel Chinese attack are silent, but Kinmen Island's military tunnels are about to see action one more time. In just a few days, Asia's top adventure athletes will land on these shores for an assault of a different kind. Race 3 of the Asia Miles Kinmen Action Asia Challenge, Taiwan. Almost 280 kilometres from Taipei, Kinmen is one of 12 islands in a small archipelago situated in Xiamen Bay, just 2 kilometres off the coast of China. Its challenging coastline, surrounding waters and vast tunnel networks are an adventure race director's dream.
5 minutes from the airport, you go to a beach and there's an army tank abandoned on the beach. You drive a few more kilometers, there's another tank abandoned in a field. You come down to the national park and they have a whole assortment of armory that they use for the war. You come down to the coastline and you see army pillboxes along with tunnels that are large enough to keep ships. It's surreal.
Now administered by Taiwan, Kinmen was the scene of fierce fighting between communist and nationalist forces when Chiang Kai-shek's army withdrew from the mainland in 1949. During 29 years of hostilities, almost 1 million shells were fired at the island fortress. Today, the legacy of that military campaign is a tourist attraction.
有人说过，没有来到金门，向往金门；来到金门，喜欢金门。 来了金门之后，离开金门会怀念金门。
Kinmen is a training camp for young Taiwanese on national service. In a first for the challenge, the island's military muscle is enlisted to help build a commando course for the race.
Oh, can I see that? Oh. So, not to...
The grenades are dummies, but the army will be keeping a close eye on safety during this part of the course. Safety is a big issue. With the course split between 2 islands, race director Michael Mattis briefs his team about strong currents that could affect the swim and kayak legs.
If you time it wrong, you get swept around, you're going to be stuck in the ocean for 2 kilometers in the ocean, you can't get back. It's a powerful current, and it's very extremely dangerous.
The only way to find out how dangerous the currents are is to paddle the course. Test pilots Michael Mattis and Alan Chan head for Little Kinmen and the treacherous channel crossing.
One of our challenges, our ambitions, is to try to kayak from Little Kinmen to Big Kinmen, but the direction is north, and unfortunately, the winds are going south, which are creating, a lot of white caps, a heavy current, and it's going to be tough for competitors to do that kayak, and it's a big problem for us as race organizers, as we've been struggling. Do we cancel? Do we not cancel? What do we do?
Elsewhere on the island, riggers set up the rope work, belays, safety clips and equipment for the different disciplines on the 60-kilometre course. It's the longest course in the event's history and one that will test the endurance of the event's best. It's also the most inaccessible location on this year's calendar, testing the logistics of the event's technical directors. With the race now just 1 day away, athletes from around Asia arrive just in time for the gear check before tomorrow's event. Their late arrival means these mandatory safety checks must be conducted at night.
为什么知不知道？如果你的安全带的比例路是跟他的一样，我们会这样做。
At Challenge headquarters, teams are briefed on tomorrow's race. Few have competed in as many Action Asia races as Band of Brothers.
Good idea that, Dave. Gel on the bar.
Yeah. A quick release.
Yeah, quick
the red
release.
tape is for quick release.
I'm expecting some fast roads so I can be aerodynamic tomorrow like this.
So we'll be down in a crouching position, like that.
The English siblings have a reputation for being the court jesters of the tour, but their relaxed demeanour belies a seriously competitive nature. They won the Taiwan event 3 years ago.
We're both pretty good all-rounders. I don't think we excel at any of the disciplines individually. I say we're a bit weak on swimming, and we have a lot of swimming tomorrow.
Let's take a look at the favourites for this race now, and certainly it's hard to go past the Taiwanese locals, Chen Cheng-ren and Xun Ji-shen of Team Exostar. The military boys were beaten by equipment failure at their last 2 outings, but have the advantage of home turf for this race. Gary Mandy and Pedro Ribeiro are 2 of the fittest men on tour. Mandy threatened retirement after finishing 6th in Macau, but the opportunity to team up with current champion Ribeiro was too good to turn down. Team GCAM are Australian Greg Shand and Cameron Richards, both living in Singapore. Shand partnered Ribeiro to victory in the last race held in Singapore. This is their big chance to knock off the big guns. It's 7 o'clock race morning. Conditions are perfect. It's dry, sunny, and there's a light breeze to keep things cool.
We'll be eating now for the next 6 or 7 hours. We hit the liquor factory and we'll start drinking.
Teams have one more journey to make before they reach the start line at Little Kinmen Island. Most of these athletes have travelled thousands of kilometres to be here. Just completing the event will be an achievement.
Very excited and a little bit nervous.
Yeah, it's nice to be in a different country, racing in a different atmosphere.
Our team's Ancient Mariners. Before this season, the previous 2 years, we won most of the 100 pluses. But we've got some ferocious competition in the Band of Brothers team from Taiwan. 2 years ago, I beat them every race, so...
But now you've got a new partner, so
well,
we're up to prove it.
A new good partner.
Let's take a look at the first 20 kilometres of this 60-kilometre adventure. The race begins with a run to a pier jump, a short swim and tunnel scramble before getting onto the mountain bikes for a fast ride to Tie Han Castle Tunnel. From here, it's back on the bikes following the coast to a museum for a historical quiz before continuing to a beach run to an old tank. The remaining bike leg completes the 20-kilometre circumnavigation. With only seconds to go before the start, adrenaline begins to fuel these athletes' systems.
The thing that competitors will like about Little Kinmen is the first thing right into the race, they're faced with a wall jump where they have to decide, do they want to jump or do they stop and hesitate and decide if they want to jump, which means they're losing precious seconds.
Taiwan's Team Exostar are first to the entrance of the Seaway Tunnel. The tunnel is one of the biggest on the islands and was used to hide Navy boats ready at a moment's notice to defend Kinmen from attack. For this former military man, it's just like being at home. Hot on Exostar's heels, are Asia Miles' Gary Mandy and Pedro Ribeiro. In third place, Hong Kong expat team Schmuck Knuckles. Back in the field, the veteran teams are pacing themselves, trying to avoid injury in the tunnel.
It's actually, there's a lot of rocks in there. I actually got cut in there, or I don't know whether it's barnacles or a piece of concrete. It's slow moving, you've got to be careful what you're doing.
Despite the injury, Band of Brothers have the jump on their 100-plus veteran rivals, the Ancient Mariners. While the rest of the field heads into what used to be an underground military hospital, the leaders toss their life jackets and prepare for the first leg of the long mountain bike around the island. Team Exustar are first into Taiwan Castle. The locals are out for revenge, but Macau's Pedro Ribeiro and Hong Kong's Gary Mandy keep the leaders in their sights. Taiwan Castle is an underground maze of tunnels, ammunition dumps and pillboxes. It's also extremely cool, providing a welcome relief from the early morning sun. Singapore's GCAM are third to the castle, but are several minutes behind the Taiwanese, who have completed the underground loop and are back at the bike transition. Band of Brothers arrive at the fort, now slightly behind Ancient Mariners. The mountain bike discipline has been the downfall of the Taiwanese team in their past two races. Their inexperience in replacing punctured tyres cost them the race in Macau in June. Just behind, Mandy and Ribeiro pace themselves, waiting for an opportunity. Up ahead, the battle for the 100-plus veterans has become a titanic struggle. Dave McCormick keeps the Ancient Mariners just off his right shoulder as they circumnavigate the island.
No, my bike was perfect. It chose the right gear, the right tyres. We used these semi-slicks, made them a little bit faster and good on the pavement.
The second stage of this race begins with a 4-kilometre kayak paddle along the coast to Big Kinmen. Athletes then head inland to a Tyrolean traverse and abseil at the National KMIT School. It's then back on the road to the city's underground tunnels, a lap around the lake to Ju Guang Tower and a run across a shallow channel to Jiangongyu Island, followed by a pier jump and ocean swim leading to a tunnel fixed line test at the bike transition. As the leaders arrive at the kayak transition, it's pandemonium. Asia Miles have caught Exustar and the two teams are neck and neck. This is the Taiwanese team's weakest discipline. For the first time in this race, Mandy and Ribeiro take the lead. In third place, Cameron Richards struggles with a life jacket that's too small, costing precious time. But he and teammate Greg Shan still manage to get off the beach before the Schmuck Knuckles.
You know, the kayak is going to be a big issue. We know that. The winds are coming from the northeast. The competitors are coming from the southwest. The winds are going head right into their face. It's going to be tough, and we've got a lot of support from the fire and emergency rescue. We've got 7 boats on the water. If they can't make it across, we got to tow them across.
Asia Miles exit the kayak section and onto the leg-busting mud flats first. The nightmare continues for the Taiwanese. They flip their boat halfway across the channel, allowing G-Cam and Schmuck-Knuckles to close the gap.
Yeah, pretty good. Tough kayak, that. Hard on the legs, but we'll be fine.
We got off the kayak and it was just mud, you know, thick, deep mud. And we learnt some sort of technique like cross-country skiing where you can actually sort of slip your legs over the top. And that was a lot faster than allowing your shoes to get sucked into the mud.
Let's take a look now at the race leaderboard. First into the beach after the kayak, Asia Miles is commanding a narrow lead with a time of 2 hours. Both Taiwan and G-Cam exit this race stage equal second, with Schmuck-Knuckles fourth. The leaders are now breathing down each other's necks, but it's G-Cam who arrive at the National Kinmen Institute of Technology first. Asia Miles lose valuable ground after taking the wrong route on the way to the school. Ribeiro catches Shan, and the two wait to see which of their partners hits the ground first.
Excuse me.
The next section of the race takes place in the city's vast network of underground military tunnels. But the catacombs are like a maze, and fourth-placed Exustar lose even more ground trying to negotiate a way out. Ahead lies Jiangongyu Island, a leper colony during the Ming Dynasty. It has been an important military outpost in the Republican era. In the Battle of the Super Veterans, the ancient mariners have stolen the march on Band of Brothers.
Good. Seems that we're the first male super vet team, so not too bad.
Okay, feeling good. Up to the island.
The main pack heads to the port pier, where a tough psychological hurdle awaits. It's a 7-metre jump, but there's no alternative route to the bike transition and the next stage of the race on the other side of the port. At the sixth stage of the race, Asia Miles commands the lead with a time of 3 hours and 45 minutes. Moving into second place, the Schmuck-Knuckles 9 minutes behind, and Exustar in third place. From the bike transition, athletes slingshot to the Dayu Tower. A short run precedes a 2-kilometre bike ride to Zhuaishan, where athletes are confronted with a coastal run, a Tyrolean traverse, and an abseil into yet another military tunnel. The tunnel leads competitors back to the bike transition topside.
Which way next? Looking forward to the bicycle now. Our best discipline.
Mountain biking is also the strongest discipline of Asia Miles' Pedro Ribeiro, and by the time the team reaches Zhuaishan, they have built a solid lead. It's a critical psychological break. These athletes know each other's strength and weaknesses well. Just 2 months ago, Greg Shan partnered Ribeiro to a win in Singapore. Today, they are locked in combat, and the military tunnels at Zhuaishan are a fitting battleground. As they emerge from the tunnels, it's Asia Miles, G-Cam and Exustar in third place. Meanwhile, back at the fixed lines, Band of Brothers takes advantage of the slower pace.
The Tyrolean was fairly simple across that, run round the other side and then into an abseil that actually took you down into the tunnels.
Got the lead again. In the lead.
I mean, all these line works are good because they just slow you down. It gives you time for your body to repair. You know, we've probably been going for 4 to 5 hours by then, so we're starting to get a bit tired. And yeah, it's a nice little break.
Oh, bloody tired, man. Bloody tired. I could use a bed and a beer.
The final stage of this race takes competitors through a 2-kilometre bike ride to a series of beach sprints around disused military tanks. From here, they continue on to a commando course where they'll climb, shoot and throw dummy grenades. A short sprint through the national park brings them to an abseil and flying fox at the Kinmen Kaoliang Liquor Company factory, the finish line for this tough event. Kaoliang Liquor is famous throughout Taiwan, a good spot as any to finish the challenge. The factory was established during the military campaign in 1952 and has become a national icon.
当然高粱在许多地方都能种，但是因为高粱呢，我们也去精选了一些这个特别适合酿酒的品种。
Our super vets arrive at the commando course, welcoming the change of pace.
Can we get a light one? Rather than a gantry. Hello, going to drone.
Do I have to hit it?
Yes. Well, I think the purpose is to sort of add, you know, a little bit more flavour of Kinmen Island to it. You know, it is a military base.
I've hit it 4 times.
Hit it 4 times.
It was great laugh, and we had to carry some explosives around and throw the hand grenades through a window, which is actually a fair distance. And I pulled the pin.
Thanks. There's a couple of people that are coming behind to shoot them. And the stairs too pressed.
Now with an unassailable lead, Team Asia Miles head for home. The finish line awaits at the island's local icon, the Kinmen Kaoliang Liquor Factory. But before they can claim victory, there are 2 more hurdles to overcome. In what will most certainly be his last race season, Gary Mandy's victory is a fitting finale, teaming with Pedro Ribeiro to win this year's challenge with a time of 5 hours, 15 minutes and 25 seconds.
In a race like this, when it's fairly hot and it's fairly stiff competition, you need to just take it easy and sum things up as you go along, because a 5-minute lead can be taken away to a 5-minute deficit almost instantaneously.
9 minutes behind the leaders, the event favourites Team Exustar.
这是真的，我们从来没有一起练习，我们是只有比赛会在一起，平常完全没有练习开洋。然后我觉得我们最后一次帆船在海中间帆船那一次是因为我们技术不纯熟。
Another commendable third for Schmuck-Knuckles, clearly a team to beat at the next event in Hong Kong. Back in the field, GCAM's Cameron Richards expresses frustration at a mistake that sent his team from leader contention to 4th place.
We only had, like, between here, we had about probably 15 minutes to go. We were 2nd place. The guys behind us were way.
Band of brothers Dave and Stephen McCormick take out the men's 100-plus category, beating their arch rivals, the Ancient Mariners, by 6 minutes with a time of 6 hours and 1 minute. Local girls Yun Chung Ping and Lin Fang Chen of Team Columbus take out the women's section in 6 hours and 59 minutes. As the 56 teams cross the line, let's take a look at the final leaderboard. Team Asia Miles a clear winner here today. Next, Taiwan's Exustar, the Schmuck-Knuckles, GCAM and a Miss Young Man in 5th place. For many teams, like the Band of Brothers, the challenge isn't just about winning.
Well, we don't train together because we're in different, you know, Steve's in Taiwan and I'm in Hong Kong. So when we actually get together, it's nice to see my brother. I mean, I think part of it is actually meeting up in different parts of Asia and doing these races. Actually, it's a nice way of keeping in touch.